Hey, and welcome to the Get Fit with Jodelle podcast. I am Jodelle, as usual. And today I wanted to really talk to you about optimal health and longevity. I know a lot of you that are interested in health and wellness, and those of you that seem to resonate with the things that I'm putting out. I'm sure you're seeking the most optimal way to be healthy and the things that are going to benefit your body, your mitochondria, and your health overall. And so today's tip that I'd like to share with you is probably the most important thing when it comes to longevity and quality of life. And it's not mainstream. And while there's many other factors that go into long-term health and longevity, I really firmly believe in this one. And that's why I wanted to share it with you. So I'll have some studies today too that I'll link in the show notes below that you can look up, because there's some really interesting facts about what I'm about to talk with you about. But many of you listening will agree that it's not just about diet and exercise, like you've heard me mention. And it's not always just about environment either, although environment is really important. And you've heard me talk about cell phone radiation, cell tower information that we're getting all the time, bombarded with blue light and things like that, and how important it is to get out in nature, which is why today I chose to podcast outside, so I could kind of mitigate some of the stuff I'm doing right now to my body podcasting to you. So it's important for me to help you understand that a quality existence is more important than a quantity. Do you see what that means? So there's many people living to be 80, 90 years old, but what quality of life are they having when they're in a nursing home on 15 different medications where they can't stand for long periods of time and have no stamina, or maybe they can't stand at all? That's not living, that's just existing longer. And if you're into Paleolithic and ancestral health, our ancestors actually used to live a lot shorter life, but they didn't end up on medications and in a nursing home. They had a high quality of life until they were taken out with, typhoid or whatever was going on in the village. And that's the key word that we're going to talk about in just a second. So remember that something I just said is the key to unlocking your longevity. There are many factors, like you heard me say, but I'm convinced that we are slowly losing this most important one. And that's why I feel so passionate about addressing it today. So I hope you'll listen to this in its entirety. And I hope once I mention to you what this key to longevity is, that you don't just change the channel, because this key to longevity also has to do with fat loss, believe it or not. It has to do with preventing any sort of chronic illness or disease, and it's been shown in research to do so. And so it's very important that we look at this from the standpoint of what we need to address in our life, versus just saying, oh, here's another person talking about something that is not diet and not exercise, and this isn't what I'm looking for. How's that working for you? Just seeking out all of the answers about what's the next diet to go on or the next food to eat, okay? It's not going to end up with you anywhere else but continuing to search. So listen to what I have to say today, because I'm not the only one saying this. And this is my personal, but also my professional opinion when you go to the research and you find out about it. So my professional and personal opinion, after being in the industry of health for over 18 years, is that the key to quality existence, not just quantity, but quality, is your village. Okay, and what do I mean by that? The village. Well, you heard it said it takes a village to raise a family, right? And by family, I don't mean just mom and dad and kids, because some of you watching this are single people. Some of you don't live near your family. But every one of us has a village around us. That village could be the people that you work with and see on a daily basis. That village could be your actual mom, dad, kid, family relationship. That village could be extended family that you see all the time, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandmas and grandpas, people that are constantly in your life. It could be just your friend circle that you're always around, like the sitcom Friends that we all used to watch, where that was their village. Like, those people were their village. They weren't near their families. They weren't always around their significant others that they had. Usually their significant others were within that clan just to fit the show. So this village I'm talking about is so important to your longevity and your quality of life. And unfortunately, this village is being neglected. And that's what I want to talk about today, because there's a whole nother village that's happening in all of our worlds that's happening innocently enough, but yet our actual immediate village that we need to be taking care of is suffering. And let me explain that a little bit further. So I'm going to actually have some studies too, like I mentioned down below, that back up scientifically how important it is to take care of the social interactions in our village when it comes to our health and when it comes to bringing vitality and health back into our life. If you're doing the perfect diet and the most hard CrossFit exercise and you're still seeing no results, and now you're even doing things like, you know, going out and grounding with bare feet, and you're getting cold exposure and cold therapy in ice baths, and you're going into the sunshine and getting good sun exposure, and yet you're still not seeing results, what if this one factor is what you're missing? Okay. So modern technology has allowed us to grow our village worldwide, which is what I call the worldwide village. Okay, the worldwide internet is our worldwide village now, where we have social media support with groups, in like Facebook groups and support groups. We have friends in Africa, and yet we live in Brazil. We have companions in England that we've never met, and yet we live in the States. You know, while it isn't wrong or bad at all, and it's neat to be able to interact with this world anytime we want to, and it's neat when I go on my Instagram and somebody from New Zealand says, "Hey, I love what you post," and that's all well and good, but we are so in this, with this in front of our face, that we're missing out on this, the village around us. So the moms out there, I really want to talk to you about, like, when your kid sees you in front of a device, over time, scientific research has showed that children form resentments to their parents because they're vying for your attention and it's not working. Okay, just yesterday I was at a park with my daughter, swinging her, and another mom was sitting on a park bench while her kids were playing, and she was on her phone. She had no idea what they were doing. I could have gone over and totally snatched one of her kids, and she would not have had 1 ounce of an idea, because while my little girl was laughing and giggling and her kids were actually screaming and talking and playing and having a good time, at one point they both screamed at each other, and I looked to see what they were doing, and she didn't even glance up. We have become like digital zombies, okay? And that's what I'm talking about, is we've got so connected to our worldwide village that we're neglecting our actual village. And this is hurting our health. Why? I'm going to explain further. It has to do more with more than just relationship wise. It has to do with your health overall, even so far as your mitochondria. So I really want you to stay with me on this one. So yes, we can connect worldwide. Yes, it's cool that we can talk to our family members who don't live nearby, but yet when our spouse, you know, we go to dinner with them and they're both the spouses or both significant others or both on their phone, what kind of relationship is that? You know, think about 20 years ago when, you know, welcome to the 80s or the 90s, when we didn't have, before cell phones came along in the late 90s. What did you do when you went out? You talked. What did you do when you had a family gathering? Everybody sat around and told stories and looked at photo albums and laughed and giggled. Now, when you have a family gathering, everybody's sitting around on their device. And there was a meme that went around a while back that said, "Hey, it's Friday. Let's get together and play on our phones." You know, it's like, so it's so real that they're creating, you know, content about it. And as funny as it is to read that, it's funny because it's true, and that's not funny. It's not funny that our world has become, let's get around, let's have some time together, only let's be on our phones together. This is not connection. This is the connection to people in a village that can't help you when the chips are down. Okay, what I mean by that is, like, you have these Facebook support groups for different things like paleo cooking or mom support groups online. Fine, great, those are wonderful. But when the chips are down and when tragedy strikes, like what just happened on my lake recently. I live on Table Rock Lake, where the 17 people died on the duck boat that we have here on the water. Do you think that those people who had social interaction on their social network with people they'd never met before that just liked them through Instagram, do you think those people grieved? The people that never met them, do you think they grieved those individuals as hard as the family did that lost them? What about the children who lost parents on that boat, or the parents who lost children or grandchildren on that boat? What I mean is, it takes a village to raise a family, and this is what we need to take care of, not the people in social networks across the globe that have no idea about the inner workings of what we're dealing with. And I'm going to get to why this is important to our health, but I really want you to wrap your mind around the concept of just relationship in general. When the chips are down, when tragedy strikes, you need your immediate village. And if you're not taking care of them, and you're so much stock in what these devices are, the 7 different devices that all of us have, from a tablet to a computer to a smartphone, that we use on a daily basis, if that's become your groundwork for connection, then we've lost connection, okay? Because true social interaction is interacting with someone, holding a hand, looking at each other in the face, talking at length with someone versus just showing them pictures on your phone, or being at the same table with your family while everybody's on their device. That's not connection. That's just distraction. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about. So why has the world become so much about connecting with the rest of the world? Why have we become so wrapped up in these devices that we are having trouble now communicating with our spouse, or having trouble communicating with our children, or even communicating with our coworkers? Okay, why now? Well, a lot of it has to do with how this came about. So the smartphone came out, or the Crackberry came out. We all had these like initial little devices that started to do everything for us. We no longer needed laptops. We could access the internet on our phone. So we were more on it than we were off of it. We got into texting versus calling, and texting is quicker, so we can just send a text and we don't have to call the individual and talk to them and ask other questions like, how are you doing? Now we can just say, what time did you say that play was? Or what time are we meeting for dinner, versus, hey, I'm so glad we're meeting tonight. I wanted to give you a quick call and ask you what time you wanted me to be there. How was your day? Stuff like that. We're missing out on that. And those are just little snippets, but it's something. But what's happening is blue light from these devices has something to do with it. It causes low dopamine. Dopamine is your neurotransmitter that's responsible for pleasure, passion, purpose, motivation, and questioning things, like questioning, well, why do I need to keep up with the Joneses? Why do I need all the latest technology? Why do I have to connect? And why is everybody on Instagram? Should I be on Instagram too? These are things that we stop questioning when we have low dopamine. We just do what everybody else is doing. And we actually stop wondering what we would do with our time, because these are such time sucks. Like, you have so many different apps that'll take you so many different places or do so many different things. Like, I can go on Pinterest, I could go on Strava and go for a walk and see how far I can go. I can go and connect with people on there too that I have no idea, but they're walking too, so I can connect with them. Or I can go on my Xbox and I can play with so-and-so who I don't even know that's playing the same game with me. It's like, we don't question, like, how is this good, well spent time with this one life that I've been given right now? And is there something else I could be doing? What did I do before I had a smartphone, like, with all this extra time? What did you read on the toilet before you had a cell phone? These kinds of things we forget to question and ask, because we've just accepted that this is modern society. This is what we do. We always have a phone attached to our hip. And when we're at a stoplight, we stop and we pull it out, because we can't be alone for a second. And that's really what it boils down to. We have gotten so connected. We're over-connected, and we've lost connection with ourself and our village. Okay, we can't even be alone for a second without something entertaining us. We have this need for instant gratification. It's not fair for me to sit at this stoplight because there's nothing for me to look at right now. Isn't there? Ever heard of beauty appreciation? It's called look around, notice a cloud that's beautiful, notice a person walking by that's beautiful, and appreciate that. Maybe say a prayer of thanks for that. Like, there are ways that we could entertain ourselves and be alone with ourselves, and we don't have to be connected. The other aspect of connection is, all of us are doing this. All of us are on devices at any given time. And yet someone might be trying to get our attention. Could be a small child, could be a spouse or a significant other, could be a coworker, but yet they're not getting it and they need someone to listen to them. Well, who listens? Social media listens. Tweet it and someone will respond. And if they don't, you can tweet something else, like a picture of your food, and someone will say yum. Someone is listening on the worldwide village because it's so big. Whereas in your village, if they're all on their devices too, because we've created this world where we need to be connected to the outside world and not the inside world, maybe they're not listening to you. So maybe it's a time for a conversation where I'm not being heard, I'm not being felt, and I want us to connect on a level outside of our phones. I want us to have a tech-free evening to where if we're on devices during the day, let's get together at night and not be on our phones and not be on our computers and just be together. I need you to listen to me. I need you to hear me out. Having these conversations, not only does it help you to step away from the device and not seek so much pleasure and dopamine hits from getting those listening ears across the globe, but it also strengthens those relationship bonds because connection is about communication, okay? Communicating with those people in your village of what you need. Every single person in your village serves a purpose. The traditional villages, they just weren't related people. They were anybody that lived in that village that all stayed together. They didn't have to be blood related, but they were family because they took care of each other and each person served a significant role. And that's true today. All of these people on your, you can count your friends on one hand, and usually your circle is this many people, or maybe this many if you're pretty blessed. But you can look at those people and go, okay, these are the ones I need to be investing in. These are the ones that when the chips are down will be there for me. These are the ones that I need to tell, I need you to listen. I need you to put your phone down and help me out. And let's do this together. I want to hear you out, and I want you to hear me out. This goes a long way in reducing oxidative stress. And as you health seekers will know, oxidative stress is one of the key issues as to why disease forms, obesity forms, low energy, because your oxidative stress affects your mitochondria so much that you aren't putting out the right amount of ATP energy to fuel your body, to blink your eyes, to grow hair, and to run around and do CrossFit workouts and all that and the other. Okay, so it's not just about relationship. This plays into every aspect of your life. So the key to unlock our world is one of these things, but it's also the danger that can end a lot of people in our life that we need in our village. So it's important that you understand that the key to a quality life is reducing your exposure to these things that are taking us away from our village. When your child says, I want to go outside, and you say, not now, I have to finish this text to whoever, or I will in a minute, or no, I can't because I'm busy. How does that make them feel? Or they start nagging you so much that you hand them a device and now you're developing their habit. Guess what? We have no research that's been done long-term enough to know what these things are doing to ourselves, let alone our children who are smaller than we are and more concentrated bodies. This stuff has only been out since like 96. And so there's not enough research to show the detriment to a child's body that so much chronic exposure of just being entertained. Just let me give you this and entertain yourself so I can get some stuff done. All right. And then we complain to our friends about, oh, they're growing up so fast. I wish I could stop time. Time is happening right in front of us in all cases, not just children, but our lives in general is going on. But if we're constantly in front of this, then what's underneath our nose is the problem. That's what needs to be addressed first and foremost. What's happening behind the surfaces of these devices is what real life is. This is just a tool. This is so I can communicate and get messages out. This is so I can call somebody and tell them things. It's not the end all be all. And to have it attached to our hip, emitting radiation, and also attached to our hip so that we feel lost, naked without it, is a fallacy. It's not true. We can be completely connected to those around us who are important. Okay, and I could go on and on, but I'm going to go on to some research instead. So I'm going to have down below the link for this one, but mitochondria and quality of life are more optimal with quality relationships because they reduce stress and the less energy means less social interaction. So when you get invited to things, if your mitochondria is damaged because you're always on these devices, you're not going to want to go. So it makes you more and more of an introvert. Okay, or more and more of stay-at-home Sally, where they're just not going out anymore and doing things that give you life experiences. A brand new study indicating that we need to amp up mitochondrial function in our brain cells came out, because in order to increase social interaction and avoid anxiety-related social disorders, we need to boost brain mitochondria. Okay, so if you suffer from being kind of an introvert, that's not wrong or bad, but we actually need to get you away from devices that keep you worldwide connected and actually get out in nature and get some connection that enhances your mitochondria, okay? This means introverts need to get off their devices, which are destroying their mitochondria, and learn what things enhance it, like being in the sunshine, being out in nature. So maybe you're not quite ready because of social behaviors that prevent you from going into social settings. But the more you're going to be outside connecting with nature's Wi-Fi, which is grounding and sunlight, the more you're actually going to amp up your mitochondria. And this study indicated that it will help the brain cells be able to deal with social interaction. I thought that was a pretty cool study. So set specific times of day. Here's some tips I want to give you for helping improve the village that is so important, those people around you that you need to secure, and let them know that you are secure in the village, and give them your listening ear, give them your attention, give them your pat on the back, okay? One tip that I like to do is to set specific times of day that you're going to be on a device that's not around people. So if you are going to spend some time on a device, it needs to be where maybe people can't see you in your circle, okay? Because that can be intimidating to them. I try not to be at all on my devices if I can help it when my husband gets home from work and when my child is around me at all. So the only time I get work done through the day is either if somebody's with her, like her Nana, or my husband is with her today, so they're having daddy-daughter day, so I get to record things, or when she's napping. I get a 2-hour window every day of when she's napping. That's when I go on my computer. I don't want her to equate mommy with always being on a device. Okay, and yeah, there's going to be times when I have to return a text or when I have to deal with a client, but I try to do it in a space where she can't see me, where somebody else is interacting with her, or when my husband has put her to bed and he's doing something else and I can interact, okay? And in the meantime, my next tip is what I do, which is keep my phone on airplane mode more than it's on, okay? So people in my life know that if they don't receive a text right back, it's not the end of the world, because I've told them. So let the people in your life know, I'm not always going to be accessible anymore. I'd like to enjoy life. I don't want to just take a video of it and then post it on social media. I'd actually like to be present with it. So if you need me, you contact me, but just know that I will eventually get back to you. Keep your phone on airplane mode more than it's on the cellular data and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all of that, because life is happening and you're missing it when you're behind this device. You can't, everybody will testify to the fact that you can't enjoy a sunset from a picture. Yeah, there's some pretty ones out there, but what's the prettiest sunset you've ever seen? The one you saw, okay? The one you saw with your own eyes, and you weren't looking through a screen, and you were taking it in with that person you were with, and it was wonderful. And that's what you need to get back into the habit of, is we don't have to document everything, okay? Document the fun stuff or whatever, you know, the top things in your week that you want to document, but not every day, not every dish of food, and not every little selfie that you look great on in the mirror, okay? We all know you look awesome, so that's okay. Take the important things and post those, but then set your phone down, go live your life, basically. Same thing with Wi-Fi in your house. Wi-Fi off unless you need it. Turning your phone on airplane mode and keeping your house Wi-Fi off unless you need it, or in my case, not having Wi-Fi, I just use my hotspot on my phone when I need it. It actually helps you not rely on always being connected anyway, because you have to take the time to reconnect. You have to go plug in the Wi-Fi router or turn on your hotspot or whatever it is. Okay, so not always having that instant gratification of being able to walk down the hallway and look something up while you're walking can be a pretty good thing. So why don't you just try to instead only turn it on when you need it, when there's something pressing, or make a list of things you're going to look up when you have that 2-hour window that you've set ahead of time for what you're going to do. Sometimes you get internet amnesia to where like you look at something online or you Google something, for instance, and then Google takes you to so many other places that you forgot you wanted to look. And so then you're on for hours and you haven't even addressed what you came there for. So make a list, you know, I need to look for glassware, Tupperware glassware on Amazon, and I need to contact so-and-so through email, and I need to check on my credit card status or whatever. Make a list, go with that, get your work done, and then turn it off and be done. Avoid sleeping with the enemy. I have a whole video on this called "Are You Sleeping with the Enemy?" which is this. Okay, this is an enemy in the bedroom, not only for intimacy, but also for sleeping. Okay, because if you're sitting in bed, both of you, and you're on your devices and you're not talking, are you going to be real intimate? No. But also the radiation emitted and the blue light tells your brain it's daylight. Why am I in bed? I should be out playing. Like, you have a lot of energy right now because I think it's day. So good luck going to sleep. So these need to be off. Or if you're a caregiver of an individual and you have to keep your phone on in case you get a phone call, or maybe you're a parent of teenagers and you just have to keep it on while they're out, then put it somewhere where it's not next to your bed, where you can hear the notification or whatever you need, but don't let it be close to your body for radiation and mitochondrial health purposes, as well as these too easy to access quick dopamine hits. Sometimes when people can't sleep, they go, oh, I'll just go on Facebook because right now I'm upset that I can't sleep. And so why don't I just connect? When you do, what are you really doing? Do you feel better? When you get done with that little Facebook session and go, oh, now I can sleep, I feel amazing and I connected with everybody, and it's just, no, you keep going. It's like you just keep going through the feed and it's never satisfying. Like you never get to a point in the feed and go, yep, that's all I needed. Just needed my quick scroll through feed. Now I feel amazing. Like everything in my life feels perfect. It's a time suck. It's a filler. It's a way to get a quick hit of something that's distracting you from the things that you really need to deal with. Like, why am I not sleeping? Let me think about this. Let me question some things in my life that are going on that could be leading to poor sleep, which is also leading to poor health, which will also lead you to not live a quality life. Sleep is your rest and repair. So by starting to question things instead of just going with, well, this is what I do when I don't sleep. I turn on Netflix or I turn on my computer and look stuff up or go online shopping. This is not what we did before we had these devices. Okay, what did you do years ago when you couldn't sleep? Maybe you got up, you got a glass of water, and you read a book, or you laid in a different room on a couch and helped yourself try to calm down and go back to sleep. We are bombarded with enough radiation and energy sucks in our environment that we don't need to do any more harm to ourselves by having a device next to our head emitting some sort of YouTube video to help you go to sleep. Okay, it's not healthy for your brain or your mitochondria or you. At your next family gathering, here's a good little tip I like to do with my family. It's called the Techno Bowl. So when any of my family gets together, we have a bowl and everybody has to put their technology in it, and they're allowed to check it once per hour to see if there's anything pressing or an emergency or somebody's trying to get a hold of them or whatever. But otherwise, they have to sit down, they have to connect. All of the teenagers kind of refuted this when I first did it in our family. But once we initiated it, they loved it, and they were willing to put their phone in the bowl because we had such great conversation that we hadn't had in a while. So enlist the Techno Bowl. That's something you can do at your next holiday gathering or family gathering or whatever. And then how about touch more? Kiss, hold hands. These are things I think we've forgotten to connect with, to call a friend and have coffee and sit there and not show them pictures on your phone, but actually ask them, how are you? What's going on? You know, I never knew what your favorite dish was. I'd like to make that for you and have you come over sometime. We need this connection. We need this village. We need the listening skills. We need to touch each other and pat each other on the back. Do you know that this releases oxytocin? Do you know what oxytocin is? It is the love and trust hormone, the neurotransmitter that regulates social interaction and sexual reproduction, actually. Oxytocin is what's released that helps the uterus contract and the milk to come out of the breast for the baby. And as the days go on, after a woman gives gives birth. So it's a very passionate hormone. It helps the woman connect with the baby. It helps us connect in relationship. It's love potion number 9, if you will, basically. And in a 2013 study recently, I say recently, I guess that's still recent. Is 2013 recent? I feel like it is. Oxytocin is responsible for regulating body fat, okay, and inhibiting body fat gain, as well as healing leptin resistance. Very cool. I'll have that link in the show notes too. But by touching and kissing and cuddling and holding each other, and even like putting your hand on your best friend and just, you know, sitting there with your hand on them, this releases oxytocin. And this actually could help you lose weight as well as have better hormone production. So how cool is that? And we can't get that through Instagram. You can't get that through social media. We can only get that with the immediate village, okay? Teach kids instead of entertaining them. Instead of handing them a device and saying, here, play with this, mommy's got to do some work or whatever. Teach them. Say, well, I'm doing this right now in the kitchen, but maybe you can help me, okay? Let them learn while you're entertaining them. You can make every moment a teaching moment. It's just all in how you approach it. At work, that you could have a great village at work. Maybe you don't live in an area where your family is all around you, but your village is still there. You still have a village. You still have people, neighbors, friends, coworkers that will take care of you when the chips are down, okay? So maybe at work, if that's your village, take breaks from your computer and perhaps even set a time of day when you can take breaks with your village coworkers with no devices. So you take the non-smoke break where you go outside and you're like, okay, what was your high today? What was your low? That's what I always do with my daughter. I always want to know the high of her day and the low of her day. That's the high point, like what was the best thing, and then what was the lowest point. So that way you learn about each other. You get to feel each other out and go, wow, I learned that you really don't like when someone, you know, abruptly cuts you off in traffic. That's interesting to note that, you know, maybe that was their low for the day. Maybe the high for their day was that there was fresh coffee in the break room, you know, like something as simple as that, but you just learned how much they love fresh hot coffee versus just any old coffee. You know, they're very detailed. They like good fresh things versus just they're those people that'll just eat anything, you know. So it's just little things like that that might not seem like much. That's what we're seeking. We're seeking someone just to listen to us. What do you think sharing on social media is all about? Somebody hear me, look at me, pay attention to me. And that's what we can do for our village. We can show people in our village, I care about you. I'm interested in you. What's your favorite color? I've never asked you that before. Okay? Those kinds of things connect. That's social bonding. And that's so strengthening to the human body and to it's human nature to have a village. And so when we're connected, not only with grounding and earthing and sunlight and getting away from technology, but we're also connecting to other humans, this is powerful healing. And this is a powerful way to a quality existence. Okay, how about the next tip is more with your spouse or your significant other. Go out to dinner and leave the phones in the car or leave them at home and have a no tech at the table rule, okay, right? I do this at our dining table whenever we have dinner. No tech at the table because daddy gets text messages all the time and he really wants to check them all the time. But he's learned that even my daughter now, who's 3.5, will say, Daddy, no phones at the table. So he's learning. I mean, my daughter's recognizing this. It was different when it was just me and my wife, but now I don't want to disappoint my daughter. And so make that rule. And if it's just another, you know, you're just your partner and you, then learn about each other. Take that time to say, you know, not just how was your day, but you know, what things about me make you uncomfortable? Is there anything I can work on? Like, is there anything that I do that irritates you? Let's just learn about each other. Like, is there something that bothers you that I could work on? Or what is your favorite thing about me? Maybe I'll hone in more on that so I can be a better partner. Things like that. Asking questions is a great way to show someone that you're interested in them. And that's a great way when you don't know how to form conversation, just ask questions. Just ask lots of questions. And do it in a way that's not condescending so they don't think you're just being a nosy person, but just in a way that actually is inquiring, like, I want to know about you. I want you to be part of my life and you're important to me. Okay. Then there's some mitochondrial tips. Okay, so when reading on your phone, and this is more for mitochondrial health, and this goes back to, you know, if you're on a device, when maybe make sure no one's around you that has to just go, there they are on their phone again. I can't ask them anything. I can't approach them, you know, stuff like that. But when you are reading and it's on a device, maybe you're just reading a blog article. It doesn't have to be a book or anything. But I always turn my phone on airplane mode when I'm reading something that's not just like a text message. Or if it's a lengthy text message, I'll turn it off, I'll respond, I'll turn it back on, and then I'll set it down and let it go to the person. Okay, but turn off your data, turn off your Wi-Fi, turn off your Bluetooth. All of these things reduce oxidative stress, which is caused by radiation. And that oxidative stress is stressful to your body, which then lowers dopamine, which then allows you to not question everything, which then makes you rely on your phone a little bit more than you should, because that's what's happening in this low dopamine state. So hopefully you can see how all these are playing in together. In your car, use that auxiliary port and get an auxiliary cable to plug your phone in to your car versus just turning on the Bluetooth. Bluetooth is very damaging to the body, very similarly to Wi-Fi. And so just having your Bluetooth on in your car is another way that you're radiating not only yourself, but whoever's in the back seat, whether they're a little person or the person next to you in the seat, they're all getting it. So, and if it's a little person, they're getting it more than you are. So just an auxiliary cable, they're like $3 or $4. Just find one and plug it into your car and turn off your Bluetooth and just use the cable to use your phone and to play music or whatever, or my podcast through your car. So, or purchase anti-radiation earbuds so you don't have the Bluetooth on. You just have these. I have these sitting down here to show you. These are called iBrain, and they're anti-radiation earbuds. They have a mic so I can talk to people, but I don't have to have the phone up to my head for extra radiation. So dim the lights after the sun goes down and wear blue blockers. What would you do at night with your village if you didn't have light, if you didn't have TV, if you didn't have smartphone, if you didn't have Netflix, if you didn't have a computer? What would you do? Sky's the limit, because it's like I could be intimate, I could read a book, I could go to bed earlier, you know. So think about in terms of connecting with people, but then also connecting to yourself and not just always being distracted. We've become this nation where we have to be entertained and distracted. Why do you need to be distracted? That's a good question to ask yourself. What am I not dealing with? What's the stress of the day that I'm not dealing with? Maybe I haven't dealt with the fact that I really don't like my job at all, but I'm not willing to admit that. And so in the meantime, I just get home from work and I just don't want to think about work anymore. And I just want to distract myself with lots of things that are entertaining that just shut my brain off. Okay, I'm not saying that's wrong or bad, but life is too short to work a job that you hate. So why don't you start looking for something else, even if that's, you know, the case. And even if it means you make less, what if you're happier? You know, what if your village is better? What if you come home as a happy individual and you're not yelling at your family all the time, or you have more social time with your social network of friends, you know, things like that. Ground your children. That's my next tip. And I don't mean from the TV, although you really probably should, but ground them in a way that just naturally takes them away from the TV or takes them away from Xbox, which means go outside barefoot with your children and play. This is what we all did. If you're my age, if you're born in the 80s or before, I was born in 1980 and I did not do anything during the day except be outside. Like, it was not fun to be inside because, well, we had some toys to play with. It was much better to be outside because there were so many more things to do. But kids aren't doing that anymore because it's too instant gratification to have a story told to you through a cartoon or a game that they can play on a device. And science has shown that kids are actually better now at swiping than they are at holding a pencil. And kids are less into books because the story happens so fast with a cartoon. So they're less apt to read books and their love of books goes away, which was really scary to me when I read that because my daughter loves books. And so I make it a plan to read as much as I can to her. I don't want her to lose her love for books. So anytime we can read, we read. I just put everything down and we read when she wants to read because it's so important to the development of a child, but also to keep that love of books going, okay? So ground your children, go outside, let them be barefoot. Don't have them have sunscreen on. Just let them go play for like 20 minutes. I promise you they're not going to burn, and they're going to be fine. They're going to get vitamin D and sunshine and fresh air and grounding, and they're going to feel a lot better. They're going to act a lot better. They're going to be a lot more well-behaved. And I mean, even if it's 5 minutes outside, if they're little fair-skinned babies, just avoid the sunscreen if they're just going to go outside and play for a few minutes. Just let them get some vitamin D. They don't have to be coated in sunscreen to go outside. Work out outdoors. So pretty soon I'm going to be doing an outdoor workout challenge to show you how you can go find heavy rocks. You don't need weights. You don't need anything outside. You can just go out and let nature be your gym. And so I'm going to do a little challenge of an exercise every day you can go outside and try. So work out outdoors. This is a great way to be socially interacting with other people, maybe that'll go outside with you, or the kids are playing outside, you can do your workout or whatever. But also it actually is very beneficial for your mitochondria, because you're out in the sun, in nature, getting fresh air, touching the earth while you're working out, and that helps with that optimal health that we've been talking about. So that's another way to get away from technology and go outside. Okay, call your mom. Don't text her. Your mom wants you to call her, and she doesn't want you to text her. I know this because I have plenty of, well, I don't have my mom in my life, unfortunately. I have plenty of moms in my life that would much rather I call them than text them. So I try to remember to do that as often as I can. It's just more meaningful when someone hears your voice, that at least if they're miles away and they can't interact with you face to face like they would like to hear your voice is much better than to read a message that you sent, okay? Go visit that person that doesn't ever get visitors, okay? Be that social interaction instead of just texting them and asking them how you're doing. Send a card instead of an email. I love sending cards. Like, I love thank you cards and how you doing cards and smile cards and what you up to cards. And so I'm forever sending cards just because I think it's much more fun, and I love to see the reaction that people get when they receive them, because it's such a lost art. So send a card instead of an email. Call someone to meet for coffee, and don't show them pics on your phone like I was mentioning before. Just listen to them. Just ask them questions, inquire. Just be with them, look them in the eye, touch their hand when something is touching, you know, like if it's a touching moment. And don't hesitate on that. I think we've become kind of a nation where we just get together, but we don't really touch each other, or we don't hug anymore. But you go to other countries, like I went to China, young girls were holding hands. When they're having that interaction of holding hands, that's so real, and we don't do that. Like little, even young girls, 9 or 10-year-olds that walk around, they don't hold hands, they just walk together. And we really need to touch. We need to get that oxytocin boost by touching one another. So don't negate that. So that is what I wanted to talk about for today. I think I've talked your ear off enough, and I'm really appreciative those of you that have lasted all the way to the end here. Obviously, you know how important it is to now take care of that village and to connect where we have disconnected, and to put the devices down and go be with those individuals, and to turn the devices off and have some tech-free afternoons or evenings where we can get back to the people we were meant to be, and not the digital zombies that we've become. Okay, while there is good being able to connect worldwide, you have a village to take care of, and that's your responsibility. And so make sure that every day in some way you are reaching out to your village and you're taking care of them, and reminding them that you need them to help take care of you too. So I leave you with that. I challenge you with an exercise of meeting with someone today face to face, and giving them your utmost 100% attention without any devices around either of you to distract you. And I challenge you to go out and do something in nature that doesn't require a device, and see if you feel differently than if you were just using that time to scroll Facebook. I challenge you to sleep tonight with no device, and if you wake up, to find another way to put yourself back to sleep apart from any sort of electronic device. And explore this wonderful world. And right now, as I'm done with this podcast, I am going to go do that. I'm going to go get some grounding and some more sunshine. So I hope you'll join me, and I'll see you outside. And thank you once again for watching. Peace. Big thanks to my show sponsor, dropinfbomb.com. F-bombs are handy nut butter and organic oil packets that you can take anywhere and everywhere. If you're not into nut butters, no worries. Check out their line of quick oils that you can blend into your coffee, smoothie, or just douse over your meat or salad. MCT oil, macadamia oil, olive oil, and even avocado oil. They also have killer apparel, like my favorite shirt that says powered by fat. I love that. And because I love you, and so does F-Bomb, my listeners receive 20% off their purchase. Just visit my shop page, getfitwithjodelle.com/shop, and click the link for yummy F-Bombs. Then at the checkout, enter the code GETFIT, all one word, GETFIT, and save 20%. Their slogan is, "We make keto easier," but I just say, they make eating real food easier and tasty too. Dropinfbomb.com in a healthy way today.